In a major competition, this is a record, but it also begs the question of why are we getting these scorelines in major competitions? Is it a brilliant result? Is it a spectacular result? Or is it something that the tournament doesn't really need? The results that we've seen so far, 4-1 twice, 4-0, 5-1 and 8-0. So those are some of the big scorelines that we're seeing. Germany and France with some big scorelines in there. So joining us now to discuss last night's unbelievable match is Faye Carruthers. Good morning, Faye.
Good morning, Faye. How are you?
Morning, Ali.
Morning.
Brilliant, Faye. How's things? I mean, last night was unbelievable, wasn't it?
We literally were just looking around going, is this happening? Is this real? It was insane. And listen, I'm gonna defend our colleague Adrian Durham, because we all thought that it was going to be a really tight game. Because
well,
Norway,
we're not.
Well, seriously, you look at the names on the team sheet for Norway. They've got the first female Ballon d'Or winner in their side, in Ada Hegerberg. It's crazy. So I think it was a rampant England when they get given a tiny bit of confidence. And bear in mind that they've had really shaky starts in the first half of three of their games leading up into this tournament. They weren't great against Austria either. But the minute that penalty went in from Georgia Stanway, it was like the floodgates opened. Yeah. And we saw the attacking, dreamlike England that we know are there.
Faye, I listened to the coverage last night on talkSPORT from start to finish, and I even listened to the beginning part of Sports Bar where Jason Cundy threw to you and you were interviewing Ellen, and he had just said it was definitely a dive, wasn't it, to win the first penalty, and he was like, look, that's what I like to see, it's the dark arts, all that. And you asked her the question and it didn't go down well, did it?
It didn't. It went down like a lead balloon, and then I tried to rescue Jason and say, I was kind of only joking, and it didn't work.
But Ali McCoy said it was a dive this morning, didn't you, Ali?
I must admit, as triumphant as the performance was, Faye, I didn't think it was a penalty, to be honest with you. However, it's in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, because the performance was tremendous. We did say before the game, we were speaking about it yesterday, Faye, England were going to have to be more clinical in front of goal. So Woodsy and I are actually taking a lot of credit. Although we're giving Adrian Durham a bit of stick, Woodsy and I are taking a lot of credit, because we reckon the girls were listening to us, and boy, were they more clinical in front of goal last night.
Well, I'm just relieved that I don't have to ask Serena Wiegmann anymore about how much more ruthless they need to be and clinical, because it's all I've asked her leading into the tournament. Because they can. We know what this team can do. We know they can score goals, and I think many people thought this would potentially be the kind of scoreline, or at least maybe 3 or 4 against Austria. Certainly not against Norway. And it's actually an important statement performance, regardless of what Serena Wiegmann says, in that she doesn't care if they win 1-0 or 8-0. It doesn't matter to her. It's 3 points. And she's absolutely right when she says that. However, when one of the other tournament favourites in France goes and scores 5 in a game the other night, for England to come out and then score 8 is a massive statement of intent.
I have to ask, Faye, because with as brilliant as and as clinical as the Lionesses were, it was shocking defending from Norway at times. It was almost like at some point they just gave up, and they completely lost their positioning. They didn't look like they were a professional outlet at times. And I know that sounds really harsh, but it was bad, and you can't, for people that watched it, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. What happened with Norway? What was their reaction as well? Did you speak to their camp afterwards? What was the reasoning?
No, they just imploded completely. And actually their manager, Peter Schorngred, was sat in the dugout way after all of the press conferences and everything else had happened, with his head in his hands, having a debrief with one of his technical staff. I think they were just completely shell-shocked by it. But what I found quite interesting, he didn't really communicate with his players on the pitch at all. The first time he came out of his dugout was at 5-0.
Wow.
Clearly the team talk worked a little bit at half-time, because they managed to keep the score down until I think it was 66 minutes that Alessia Russo came on and scored. But these are professional and experienced defenders. In fairness, Maren Mjelde and Maria Thorisdottir, who are the 2 centre-back partners, Maren Mjelde is former Chelsea. Maria Thorisdottir plays for for Manchester United. They're very experienced defenders, but they looked all over the place. Then you had Manchester City's Yuli Blackstad. She's only 20 years old, and down that left-hand side, she struggled. Everything good that England did came from the right, and she just couldn't handle it. And I just think it was a very bad night at the office for them, and there was a bit of arguing on the pitch at the same time, which didn't help things. And yeah, I mean, they're just going to want to park it and try and get a victory against Austria, which is their last match of the group stage.
Talking about last matches fate of the group stage, this obviously puts England in a fantastic position, already having qualified. What does Serena Wiegmann do here now? Does she rest one or two, or does she go along the train of thought, that momentum, she wants to keep it going?
It's a really tough one. I personally think momentum is important. And bear in mind that we jumped straight to the quarterfinal stage because there's only 16 teams in the tournament. It means essentially there's only 3 games until the final. So yes, in my opinion, you stick with momentum. Serena Wiegmann, from what I have seen from her since she arrived in September, she likes to keep a core group of players. And so I don't think we're going to see as many changes as perhaps a lot of people will think.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Beth Mead and her position, because there's competition there. We've seen them flip over quite a bit. Chloe Kelly coming in, and we weren't actually quite sure. I remember before the tournament started, Ian Wright and then Ian Luco, we made them do their best 11 and they weren't 100% sure about that position. Beth Mead last night scoring a hat-trick, and I just thought she was absolutely brilliant. Just one of many players really that's been standout performers so far. What did you think of that particular position?
Oh, she's had a standout season though, Beth Mead, and she's such a special player. And I tell you what, that game that she was left out against the Netherlands, I talked about her bottling up the anger. She knew she hadn't performed particularly well in the warm-up match against Belgium. She was then left on the bench for Netherlands. And when she came on at half-time, she was furious. And she was like, I'm going to show you what I can do. She also has a point to prove with England because Hegerisa left her out. She was part of Phil Neville's squads. And then Hegerisa came in as interim boss and left her out. And that made her so angry. She missed out on the Olympics. Furious she was. She's come in now and shown everybody what she can do and the phenomenal player that she is. And on the right-hand side, what her and Lucy Bronze were able to do and driving in defences. The second goal that she scored was just amazing. It was a centre-forwards goal, really. And she's now got 4 goals to her name. And, you know, she's going to want to have the golden boot by the end of the tournament. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, I bet Ellen was annoyed when she got brought off because she was on 2 goals, wasn't she? And then got subbed off.
She'd had a chance just before. That question didn't go down well either. I actually said, you were sent off. And she went, no, you mean subbed off. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I'm so sorry. But she'd also just had a shot go over the bar and then was hooked. But, you know, she has to be rested. You know, that was the right thing to do, and to also warm Alessia Russo up. And that worked a treat because she got her first goal in a major tournament, which is fantastic for her as well.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.